me to introduce the mission. There is a core team of 10 election experts who arrived in Vietnam on the 11th of May. And during this week also, 28 long-term observers will be deployed to all 16 districts of Sierra Leone to observe the election preparations, the campaign, and the conduct of electoral stakeholders. Closer to election day, we will also have 14 short-term observers that will join us, and they will arrive to Sierra Leone, and again will be deployed across the country to observe the voting, the counting, as well as tabulation of their results. Also, a delegation of the European Parliament will join the mission as part of their short-term observers, and all other EU election observers will, as all other EU election observers, they will closely follow the election day proceedings. In addition, there will be 10 locally recruited short-term observers from the diplomatic mission of the EU member states accredited to Sierra Leone, who will join the mission to broaden our scope of observation on the election day. As full strength, our mission will be composed of approximately 100 observers drawn from 26 European Union member states, but also including Canada and Norway, so Europe and beyond. Journalists often ask me why the European Union deploys election observation mission and what their objective is. Allow me briefly to outline the key guiding principles of any given EU election observation mission. Firstly, it is important to stress that European election observation mission is independent in its work and in its findings. Secondly, our observers will not in any way interfere in the electoral process and have no authority to correct any shortcomings. Thirdly, all observers are bound by a strict code of conduct that guarantees our neutrality and impartiality. That includes all the observers, the long terms and the short terms. Now, a few words why the European Union deploys election observation mission here. Firstly, to support democratic processes in partner countries. Secondly, to enhance public confidence in the electoral processes. And last but not least, to contribute to uphold and respect for human rights and the rule of law. These are the guiding principles of the election observation missions of the European Union all across the world. To sum it up, we as a mission have a mandate to observe the election process, and we will of course conduct our observations in a strictly impartial manner. So the framework which we are working on. The mission is here to assess the electoral processes against Sierra Leone's laws as well as regional and international commitments that Sierra Leone has made itself regarding democratic elections. Our team in the capital and long-term observers in the field will closely follow various aspects and stages of the elections, just to name a few of those. The mission will observe the legal framework and its implementation, the work of the election administration at national and district level, the campaign activities and conduct of political parties, the role of civil society and various state institutions, including, of course, the judiciary, media coverage of the campaign and the role social media platforms play in the electoral process. For that, the mission has established 2 monitoring units. One will analyze the content of broadcast and print media, while the other will follow the campaign on social media, both online and offline. And of course, the mission Commission will closely observe voting, counting, and tabulation of results, as well as the complaints and appeals process. Transparency is important for each and every stage of the election. It is also one of the core values of our election observation mission. You will see the mission's daily work on our official Twitter and Facebook accounts. So if you are not following us on Facebook or Twitter, I will encourage you to do so, to follow the mission's everyday work. 2 days after the election, I will have the honor to present the mission's preliminary statement with our assessment of the election processes, as observed so far, of course. We call it preliminary, as we all know that 2 days after the election process is far from over. Only after the finalization of the entire election process, the mission will be able to publish a comprehensive final report. And that final report will also include recommendations for future elections. This is how it has been during the former election operations, and will also this time. It is a joint responsibility of all political parties, candidates, civil society organizations, media, and the electoral administration to maintain a peaceful pre-election environment in which the fundamental rights and freedoms of all Sierra Leoneans are respected, as well as, of course, peaceful transition. And let me reiterate, our job here is to put the elections into the broader context. Let me reassure you that we as a mission will deliver an independent and impartial analysis of the 2023 general elections to the Sierra Leone people. Thank you very much for attending.
Dear guests, thank you very much for staying with us, and now we are opening the floor for your questions. We will take 3 questions at each round, after which we will look for answers. And we have a microphone already in their audience for you. Thank you.
Hello, hi there. Portia Crow with AFP. I was just wondering, you mentioned the social media monitoring, but I was wondering if that team would be monitoring it just sort of official accounts from the various parties, or will you also be monitoring the broader space, you know, for example, WhatsApp audios being shared by members of the public?
Thank you very much, and please do not forget to present yourself and say which media outlet you're presenting today. Thank you.
Okay, my name is Kemo Cham. I work for Manual Reporters. So you are here to observe an election process that is likely for many people to end up in dispute. I mean, there are a lot of concerns around the independence of the managers of the electoral process, ID cards and all that. You've been here for some time. From what you have observed, what is the one thing that you can pick out and you would expect either the electoral managers or the government to work on to avoid us ending up with a disputed election?
Thank you. One more question, please, for this round. Gentleman in the first row.
Haji Dawda Musabagora, our newspaper. Thank you. You made some visits overseas last week or earlier this week. Please, what is your concern, or are you concerned over the delay of the National Electoral Commission to present the voter register?
Thank you very much.
So thank you very much for the question. Activities and social media at a larger extent. Our social media monitoring team is made up of several high-level specialized people large data sets, but of course that would also mean that we'll not be able to monitor everything, but at least on a large scale. That was an answer on the question. The second issue, well, peaceful, credible elections in accordance with the Sierra Leonean and international law, rules and regulations are of course important, and and this is important here in the country and all across the world. But when it comes to the concerns on the specific or concern on specific issues right now, this I will be able to answer when the elections is over. At this stage, we are observing the process, but our recommendations and our thoughts will be presented when the process is concluded. And then the third, delay of the voters registry. We of course trust that all the institutions are living up to their commitments and are conducting the elections according to the rules and regulations that are in place. That is what I can say about the process of the voter registry. But also this one, of course, we are monitoring, we are observing the process, and when the process is concluded, we will also give our opinion on how the process has been conducted.
Thank you very much. We now have another round of 3 questions. And then gentlemen here, yes.
Thank you. Stephen Douglas, reporting for the Global Mail. I'm going to sneak 2 in. One is on feedback from people around social media. Many WhatsApp groups are closed, and I'm wondering if the EU mission is going to open a portal for people to also send WhatsApp messages or Facebook messages to the mission. And the second one, I'm sorry. Can you give me an approximate budget for the mission? Thank you.
We want to get times.
Excuse us, just please.
Okay.
The second question from gentleman was about approximately our budget.
I'm a sorry, Kiate. My concern is your pattern of observation as is my concern.
So could you repeat this, please?
Your pattern of observing elections is my concern. Thereby, many times you'll be in your cars, just from one place to the others, you don't station. And like you said, you're going to observe in all 16 districts. How much are you this time around to deploy yourself at every police station to see that our votes count? That's my concern.
Thank you very much. And one more question from the gentleman over there. Thank you.
I'm Thomas Dixon. I report for Sunday Times newspaper. You've just said that preliminary observation that you've made will not be made public. In your estimation, do you think there's any essence of this press conference if you are not making?
Could you please speak up, excuse us?
If you are not making preliminary observation public, and how would you rate the level of preparedness for this election?
Thank you so much.
First, the issue of if the communication and the reporting. There will be, and there is a number that one can turn to, send a message to, or call to, in case one wants to share experiences and have to share thoughts and experiences with us, because all those reporting that we also get really important part of our observation. So there will be a phone number that one can turn to. On the budget, I need to be frank and say that right now I don't have the figures for the budget, but we can of course look at it and then get back to you on the issue. The purpose or the
patterns.
Methods.
Methods.
Okay. So the pattern of the elections. There will be approximately 100 observers, and we will be in approximately 15 different places that will be in the cities as well as villages. So we will have election observers deployed in different parts of the country, and those election observers will be observing at least 10 polling stations. So we will be able to at least be in many different parts of the country, but it says it all. We are also limited in resources that means that we will not be able to be in all the polling stations. However, with this big group of election observers, we are confident that we will be able to do as a thorough election observation as possible. I should also ask, in addition to the European Union's election observation mission, there will be other election observers also. So together, there will be a holistic overview of the election process. But we have a good number of over 100, approximately 100 election observers. And then also we have, as I mentioned, 10 who are part of the core team who arrived the 11th of May, and 28 long-term who arrived this Saturday actually, and who will be here on a longer period. So we will not only follow the election process during a couple of days, but rather on for a longer period of time. And then the question of the purpose or the meaning, why we have this press meeting today. This is an opportunity for us to present our mission and the purpose of our mission, the processes that we'll be following, and you have the possibility to ask us questions on the processes and the purpose of the mission. However, when it comes to the foundings, it is, I think we all know, too early to say so much about the foundings, and they will be the most accurate when the election is over. So it is for accuracy also important that we present all the foundings that we gather when the election is fully concluded.
I guess we have a room for 3 more questions. Thank you. So 3 people here, they were the first ones. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. I am Suleiman Stomkova from IIM. It's a follow-up question to what Dixon asked. Is there anything like a preliminary investigation? And if so, there should be something called preliminary findings.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Marian Amaya Bangura, a fact checker at the UNDP's I-Verify Hub. I'm just asking, most of the time when you do your reports, they are done in the form of recommendations, which come as a reform to improve future elections in Sierra Leone. So now that I just wanted to know, how do you, as the European Union, ensure that these political parties tend to meet up to your recommendations? Let's say election is now, and there were previous elections. Is it that you go back to the drawing board and put for these recommendations and assess whether they were met or not?
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Hassan. I work for the Institute for Governance Reform. I want to, first of all, take this opportunity to thank you for coming and welcome you to Sierra Leone. As you know, elections are actually a process, not an event. So the fruits of what we see today have been laid, say, many years or months before today. So that's why I'm much more interested in how much synergy does your team, the observation team, have with the existing the mission itself, and the EU mission that's based there. insofar as there are issues maybe that are nagging that have come up before in terms of having proactive engagement with stakeholders or government or civil society or political parties, as the case may be, just so that we do not wait until the issues become a problem before we make recommendations at the end of the day, because if they come up now, they are nipped in the bud. For instance, the PR, as you know, the elections are going to be run proportional representation. Our findings show a lot of young people have very little knowledge of their role and how they interact with the system. So it's but fitting that we see how we draw synergy. So I'm much more interested in how you are interacting with the team here, just to see if there are weaknesses or gaps, how this can be blocked beforehand. Thank you.
Do you mean how we interact with different stakeholders here at this
with this, also 2 levels, with different stakeholders in country, that is state and non-state, as well as with your own team, the EU team that's here, in terms of supporting maybe or holding engagements, as the case may be. Maybe where you cannot do it, they could do it, as the case may be. I don't know.
Thank you very much for the question.
Well, thank you very much. I know that there was one more question over there. I will get the floor. I just answer the 3 first questions. First, just to see so that I don't forget any question. Preliminary report and preliminary findings. So the preliminary findings will be presented 2 days after the elections are concluded, because it will not all either give, or we will not be able to give a fair report just in the frame of a couple of days, to ensure that whatever we observe and whatever recommendations we put forward, we of course need to have solid ground for it. And solid ground we can get when we have ensured to follow the whole process and we have observed the different aspects. So that on the preliminary report and the preliminary findings. And the second on the implementations of the recommendations. And this is of course very important, because the purpose of the missions should not only be to give recommendations and then the recommendations are put aside. And I am very convinced that the different actors are taking, have been taking and are taking the findings, among others from the European Union, both here and other places. We have conducted missions seriously and done their best to implement. From our side, how we do is that we have follow-up missions. So, for example, from after the last elections, we had a follow-up mission 2021. So that's one of the tools used by the European Union in order to follow up on what recommendations that have been embraced. And then the third was, not even reading my own pen. Okay. Yes, about the stakeholders, and so I'm very happy and very glad and thankful to all the different stakeholders for making their time to meet us during the last days. As I mentioned in the beginning of the press meeting, I have had meetings with several different actors, governmental representatives, oppositional representatives, political candidates, media and journalist representatives, the representative from the ECSL, also from the Political Party Regulation Commission, from the NGOs. So you hear that we have had thorough meetings with different actors, and this is of course an important part of the work the work to ensure as a good, impartial and holistic election observation report as possible.
Thank you very much. We now have, we can take 3 more questions. Thank you.
Salute Janja, and I am representing the Times SL newspaper. If I
listened to your presentation, where you made mention that approximately about 100 observers. We have like 3,000 police stations nationwide. And in Sierra Leone, just like other countries, you have unreached areas where vehicles don't go. And most of the observers, when they come to observe election, they will sit in their vehicles and then they will drive around town. We want to know, how will you be able to cover those unreached areas where it will be very difficult for people to access? And also to tell us whether you have specific areas or specific districts where you will cover, the observation mission will cover for the electioneering process. Those are my concerns. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Yeah, lady in the first row. Sorry, she was first. Okay, if you're not going to please.
Yeah, thank you. Lawrence Williams is my name. I work for Freedom Post newspaper. I have a few questions. Taking you back to 2021, the EU Elections Follow-up Commission published a report in which they indicated that there was a maximum distrust, public mistrust for elections management bodies, particularly the NEC, ECSL, the PPRC, the police and the judiciary. Having read and fully briefed by the context of that report, has anything changed? If yes, what has changed? Second, I also would like to know what pragmatic interventions would you be engaged in during elections day and the post-elections?
What kind of interventions could you repeat?
What pragmatic interventions would you be engaged in? Practical, pragmatic. Lastly, I have some bit of experience in elections. I worked with the Women's Situation in 2018. Normally, for such elections, especially when the team is very small, for efficiency in the resources, we deployed agents for monitors in strategic areas where threat, violence, or possible rigging is highly likely to occur. Assuming that's one of the indicators informing your deployment, which specific areas are on your list?
Thank you very much, and I think we will take another turn of questions in the next series, okay? Because we already have 4 questions to answer. Thank you for your attention.
So thank you very much for the questions. I'll do my best to answer them. The deployment at the election day. So as I mentioned, we will be, or the observation team, including myself, of course, will be deployed on 50 different areas, cases, and we'll be observing at least 50 different polling stations. That means 500, minimum 500 polling stations. I would say that it is a significant amount, and as I also said, we have quite a good number of observers, but nevertheless, that doesn't mean that we will be able to be in all the police stations, but we are doing our best to ensure to be as many as possible. The second is, and we will also be in all 16 districts. So all 16 districts will be covered during the mission. So about the 2021. So the 2021 was the follow-up mission of the previous elections, and now there are new elections, and the new recommendations will be presented. I'm sorry, I'm repeating the same thing, but it is important that we ensure are thorough, holistic, and they will be presented 2 days after, preliminary will be presented 2 days after. And then the full final recommendation that will include the recommendations will be implemented 1 to 2 months after the election, the full election is concluded. So the preliminary statement will be presented 2 days after the elections. The final statement, including recommendation, will be presented 1 to 2 months after the elections. That will also, of course, we will look at the different parameters, which we did during the last elections also, and that will include the same point and beyond the points that was followed up on 2021. So I cannot say right now how the follow-up missions recommendations were implemented, but you will be able to see that in the final recommendations and the final statements. And as I also said, all 16 districts will be covered. And the practical engagement of myself, if I understood your question correct, I will, as all other election observers, be a part of and observe the elections. So I will also report in different areas of the country. Exactly, or precisely where I'm going to be is not yet decided, but I'm part of the election, and I will be also observing the election, including the election.
Thank you very much.
My concern, the question I asked was specifically.
Excuse us, we have a live stream, so we need to give you a microphone.
The question I asked was specifically related to what areas, specific centers, so to speak, whether it's going to be hotspot centers or you're just going to go around, for example, St. John or Christchurch, and these areas that are considered to be violent-free, safe neighborhoods, nothing will happen likely. What informs your deployment is my concern, and what specific areas or centers will you be deployed? I know that you, of course, you'll be targeting 50 centers or 16 districts, but specific centers.
So the specific centers is not yet decided on, but we will ensure as I said, there will be represented or deployed in all 16 districts, and we will also ensure that it is diverse places. So it's not only in the bigger cities, but also in rural areas and smaller cities, and the different regions. The specific areas is not yet decided on, but we will.
Thank you very much. And thank you very much for your patience. Now, the floor is yours.
My name is Princess Pias. I work for Radio Democracy. Earlier, while you were speaking towards the issues with regards to the observation team, you made mention about transparency, fair, balance, and credible elections. And I know 95% of us here, that's what we want to see, a peaceful and credible election. But how will the mission see to all of those things with some of the allegations made against the European Union with regards to governance in Sierra Leone? Why should we trust the mission with our election?
Thank you very much for your question. Do we have any more questions? We can take 2 more for this round. Please, I remind you to all of you, please present yourself.
Yes, Mobility Camara Political Newspaper. It's more or less what Brice has already said. I still want to actually know what you have in place to ensure that your observers that you are deploying and also the reports that you'll be giving us at the end of the day is actually credible and is something that we can trust and go by as Sierra Leoneans. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the question. We have room for one more question. Thank you.
Thank you. Me again, Portia Crow. This is perhaps a bit of a cheeky question. I'm not sure if you can answer it, but in your sort of view, which institutions are most important to monitor in terms of polling stations, the Electoral Commission, the judiciary, the online space? What do you sort of think could be most likely to influence the outcome of the election?
Thank you very much for your questions. We still have time.
So, first, the first question on the trust in the election observation mission. As I mentioned in the beginning, our mandate is to observe the election process, and we will also conduct our observation in a strictly impartial manner. And we also have, of course, strict code of conduct that guarantees our neutrality, impartiality. And I, as the chief observer also, will of course do what I am obliged to, and I am very much confident in the entire team that everybody is doing the same. So my message to all of you in here is that I assure you that we will be conducting the election observation in an impartial and a neutral manner, and that there is no need of worries. And that's also maybe why you have been hearing me several times saying that I cannot put forward any recommendation at this stage, because that will not be fair, and they will not be credible, also foundings. So whatever we do, we will ensure, and we want to ensure that we have solid ground for all the observations that we have made and all the recommendations that we are putting forward.
Any question?
And then the second was about which institutions are the most important to monitor, if I understand it correctly. I would say that it's important to observe in a broad way the different institutions, as well as the political parties, the NGOs, the possibilities for NGOs to do their work, the ECSL, the Political Party Regulation Commission. So all the different actors and how they are conducting their processes. So I would say that I could not directly say that there is a specific institution, but rather that we need to look at the process overall and the work that is being conducted by different actors.
And now please, gentleman from Global Mail.
Thank you. Sorry. The first set of observers arrived May the 11th, and the campaign officially started within country just yesterday. Can I ask what the time frame is of the mission? How far back do you go? I know you go post-election, but how far back do you go pre-election to the observations? Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have any more questions? Because we can take two more for this round of answers. Okay, thank you very much.
Okay, and the question on how far back we go. 11th of May, the core team arrived. From there, we are looking into, or we are observing the different processes that are being conducted by the different actors. But of course, whatever that is important and is a part of the whole election process will be looked into. So it could be things that are happening just a couple of days or the same day as the election or post-election, and that could be also things that are happening are of importance a couple of years before the elections. So that depends on what is relevant to the election process.
Thank you very much, everybody, for such interesting questions. Do you have any more questions? Because this is your last chance to ask it. Please stand. Thank you. The gentleman in the third row. Thank you.
There is one key issue that is...
Could you please excuse us? Could you please present yourself?
I'm on my way at times. There is one issue which somebody asked that you did not answer. That is very alarming, which I want you to throw light or perhaps try to see how best that particular issue will be resolved. The issue of the main opposition asking for ECSL to, update the voter register. And this issue is alarming and it's a very serious issue. Perhaps it may bring on a thing else. So I want you to look into that because the main opposition has asked ECSL just to update citizens about the registration list. I hope you understand what I mean. And that if they do it, they will ask for a protest. And it will be a recipe for chaos in this country. And lastly, like I said, somebody said, we just have 3,300 police stations in the country. We want you to increase the number of, election mission observers so that you can change your pattern of observing the elections. In other words, for you not to be in your comfort zone observing elections with, pictures around. We want you to, shift a bit in that line. Then lastly, who are your partners in the local observation mission that we have in Sierra Leone? Because we have local, observing mission as well. Who are your partners? Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for questions.
Thank you very much for the questions. When it comes to the process and the worries, we are very thankful for everything that are being shared with us to ensure to also have that in our observation. But we are at this stage not able to intervene since it is an election observation. But please do share with us any thoughts you have, any worries, or any indications that would be important for us to conduct our observation as in a thorough way as possible. But I just want to say on the issue of keeping us to the comfort zone. I would not say that the comfort zone rule applies during the elections, election observation. We have a lot of observers that we deploy in different parts of the countries where there are more modest living standards. So we will be deployed in different parts of the country, and I can assure you that we will not be in some way keeping us to any kind of comfort zone. We are here to conduct the election observation mission on behalf of the Sierra Leone people, and our mission is therefore, our role is to deliver to all of you a thorough observation mission as possible with good and thorough regulations as possible. And partners in elections, we are actually in dialogue with different partners. So we have dialogues with different actors from different parts of the society. As I mentioned, we have been meeting with NGO representatives, we have been meeting with the different political parties and candidates, we have been meeting with journalists and media representatives, and of course different institutions that are essential for the conducting of the elections. So we are in dialogue with different actors all across the society.
Thank you very much for such good questions. Once again, if we don't have any questions, then we'd like to thank you for your participation, and if you would like to speak to us separately, we now will have some time to do that. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for all of you for attending, and I wish you all a pleasant and lovely day.
It's You left your phone on top desk. Mohammed, your bag.
Out of body.
Okay. No, I'm not going to make a
Mr. Chan.